Hey there, welcome to the final day of 30 Days of Creativity 2024. So for this final wrap up, I thought I would talk a little bit about what it is to finish, because honestly, there were a lot of videos that had to happen during this month of April I had to pre-make them in order to have them ready to go and out each and every day for this entire month. That is not without its challenges, because here's the thing. I talk a lot about beginning and starting, and I have a whole week full of videos about how to start, but I really didn't touch on finishing and what that looks like. And for me right now, I'm at the final video. I felt like starting is hard, but finishing is even harder, because it's putting in, you decide on a goal or on something that you're going to do, then you have to do it over and over and over again. And in this case, it was making these videos, which I was super glad to do, and I was excited about it. But I gotta say, about midway through, I started getting discouraged. What is this? What's the point? What is happening? Are they good enough? Are they short? I wanted them to be shorter, and I tend to be a little bit wordy, and I know that. I wondered if anyone would even actually be watching them. Am I doing too many? Am I doing them right, doing them wrong? So you start doubting yourself when you're in the middle part and you still have a ways to go. So now I'm kind of at the back end of it. I realize I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad I pushed through, but it did take some perseverance there in the middle, because there were a lot of pieces that had to be in place in order to pull this off. And the last time I did it was 4 years ago, in 2020, which, if some of you remember, we were in the middle of a pandemic and most of us were at home. So I had just a more time, I guess, in a way, than I do now. I didn't have the same obligations that I experience now. And so what I really had to do was break it down, each piece. Okay, I'm gonna make this video, I'll edit this video, I'll post this video, have it ready to go. And when I had it into smaller pieces, it felt much more doable. So I guess my point around talking about finishing is, we do a lot of talk around starting, and that is it is valid, but we don't do as much talking about finishing and taking it to the next level, whatever that might be, in your art, in your home, in your garden, in your whatever it is, diet. There's so many things we start, but then we don't finish. So I just felt like this was I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about finishing, not obsessing over something being perfect. I had kind of leaned into that for a while. It's like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? It did all kind of come together, and I did end up plugging in some videos that maybe didn't make as much sense as others, but I wanted to kind of have a series, and I wanted it to be by week. So, we all have limited amount of time, we have limited capacity. And so hopefully you found that there were some videos that really resonated with you and that you found helpful and encouraging. And I have to say, so many of you left the kindest comments, and it just really helped me as I was trying to finish all of these up. So thank you for watching and for commenting, and that you and even subscribing. I don't talk about that very often, but it does make a difference. And I know a lot of people kind of push that. I just feel like if you're interested, you will subscribe. Most people who are on YouTube know that. And if you have something relevant you want to say, super encouraging to me. I'm a real person too. And so it means a lot when you do comment. And then obviously, just by watching it just is great. So I just want to thank all of you for joining me in this month. And wow, I'm gonna take a breath and get back to my once a week videos. That's gonna feel like a big change in terms of so much easier. And I thought that was a lot back before I did this. So anyway, in this part of the video, I just wanted to talk a little bit about artist or creative routines. And there's been a myriad of books out there. You could Google it, you could find books, you could find articles, you can find all kinds of things about creatives and their routines. Some are crazy, some are commonplace. They're all over the board, and everybody has a different opinion, and everybody has a different set of routines that they embrace. Basically, a routine is anything. It's just part of a daily practice. It just is something that maybe helps you get in the flow or in the mood for being creative, whatever genre that might be for you. But what I'm I will say, and I've read a ton of books, and I'm so interested in all these different artists and writers and different dancers and different people and what they do. And it is helpful, and I do enjoy reading about that. But what I have discovered in my own life, and this probably will be true for you too, is we can't copy other people in terms of developing that routine. We have to figure it out for ourselves, because the one person that wants to light a candle, the next person is like, that is nothing for me. Like, we each have to pick and choose the things that mean the most to us and that are meaningful to us. We can't force those things. We can't act like, oh, well, if it worked for them, it'll work for me, because we are all unique and we are all different and our needs are different. And the way that we move through life and through our creative journey is going to be completely different. So I just want you to kind of, I'm going to talk a little bit about myself, but I want you to gather ideas for yourself and then embrace those and take those forward. It also is huge depending on what season of life we're in. So if you're single and young and carefree, you have probably way more time than the rest of us. Or if you have small children, you have zero time, and you'll be lucky if you can get a few sketches on, with a pencil. Some people are, working very demanding jobs. Some are retired. Some are somewhere in between. Some are empty nesters. It's just, there's so many different variables that are going to come into play when you are trying to figure out routines that help you, that kind of push you forward. I guess that's what the routines are for. They're like a daily practice or something that you do that kind of gets you in the mood. So, I mentioned, some people there's so many different things. Some people wear the same, artist smock or apron. They put that on and it gets them in the mood. They light a candle, like I mentioned. They might grab a cup of tea or coffee. They might have music, a podcast. They create an environment in which they can then, it kind of sets the stage for them to begin working or begin being creative. And like I said before, I have a bunch of videos on just simple ways to begin, because it is something that we all struggle with. So find that thing for yourself and what lights you up and makes you feel filled with joy, I guess, and then move forward into that and then into your creative practice. But for me, I'll be honest, every day is different. And I wish it was like, oh, I do this and then I do that and then I do this and then I do that. But it's not that. My life is not in that place where every day is the same. For me, every day is different, and I have to be super intentional about the things that I do. On a typical day, let's take a Monday, for example, I generally will do all my tedious kind of work from home type of things. I think I mentioned this before, I have an eBay business. So I'm always packaging and shipping and listing and all the things that go with having a home business where you ship things. I also have my art business, which is this, and it might be that I'm sending something out from my website. So I have to manage my website and update my website. I make these videos, I do all these kind of things. So these are more, the videos making itself, I put in more the creative category, but the editing and a lot of the uploading and some of the other tasks that are involved in that, I consider more tedious. And I tend to work on those first thing during the morning part of my day, because once I get some of the things off my to-do list, I feel more freed up to create. I will tell you, most creatives that I have heard or read their books, they start in the morning and they're able to push that stuff aside and they do it in the afternoon. This is the part where you have to listen to yourself, because I feel like if I did it backwards, I would be constantly pushing against what works for me, which is to have those things out of the way, clearing the path kind of for me to then move forward into my art, whatever that might be that specific of a day. I also typically in the morning, I like to exercise, and that can look different depending on the day. Some days it means pushing, I'm gonna push my grandbaby around in a stroller for an hour. It might be on a treadmill, it might be, whatever it happens to be. But I do like to get moving, because I feel like, particularly the older I get, the more important that is to keep moving, because it does impact your art. If you're able to move and to have physicality in your work, that it does matter if you have the capacity for that. I also like to write. So a lot of you know about Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way. I I don't even know how many years ago. I mean, I read her book years and years ago, and then maybe it's been 10 years. I'm not really sure how many years. I'd have to go back and look at those first journals. I decided I really wanted to embrace this writing that she has, this kind of free flow, off the top of your head, non-specific, not like a journal like blah, 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 I did this and that, writing. And what I find that writing does for me is, I call it, it skims everything off the top. So a lot of that writing isn't very deep, but it takes off all the anxiety and stuff that just, I feel like it's just floating up here. I'm just like, la, 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 writing all of that down. It just gets it out as if you were sitting having a conversation with somebody and you just blah, blah, blah and got it out. So whatever works for you, I like to write. And so for me, it's great. She recommends 3 pages. I only do 2 pages. She recommends doing it first thing in the morning. I do it whenever it works for me. It might be 10 o'clock in the morning. It might be 1 in the afternoon. Sometimes it's 4 in the afternoon. If it's important to me, I just figure I do it whenever it works for me. I don't have to abide by a strict, her strict program is what I want to say. So again, you have to embrace the things that work for you, and the things that don't, you have to let go of. And it's not about being perfect. It's not about creating some routine that is just so over the top that you can barely keep it. It's just about what are the things that help you in your creative, journey. So another thing that for me that is really silly, but before I get started with my art, I like to have, I have a daughter that lives here at home, and I'm her caretaker. As she has mild disabilities and is very functional, but I gotta, have dinner, and I obviously have a husband. And so if I can think through and have dinner kind of ideas already that helps me too, because otherwise that's in the back of my head. What am I gonna have? What am I gonna have for dinner? So if I can have a plan for that, these are just silly things, but it all helps me then move into the routine of making art. It frees my mind from all the worries and all the things that I might be thinking that I need to do, and allows me to kind of embrace that time. And unlike some people, when I am making art, I typically do not have anything on. I keep it quiet. I admire people who can listen to music, and I just find I can't. I like the stillness, and there's not many times in our life where we just are quiet. And so for me, the quiet works, and I try to be real intentional about it, but flexible in that. I do sometimes light a candle because I like the smell of it. I like scented candles. I often will grab a cup of tea, but typically I have my tea in the afternoon. I have coffee in the morning and tea in the afternoon, and I have like tea when I'm in between projects, because I have a tendency to set the tea down and then I forget to drink it. So when I'm busy painting or doing other things. So figuring out what works for you is key, and what is holding you back is the other thing. So it could be something just very small, but it's something to consider and something to think about. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is when things aren't working for me, like it's just not happening. So, and there's days like that, like it's just not happening, and I just can't get in the groove, and I want to grab something to work with, but I'm not in the mood. And they do say, just like sit down and start making marks, and it will come, and that often is the case. But sometimes I'm out of sorts, and I find what I really need to do is I need to go, here's a few things. I need to go outside. It's becoming spring here, so maybe I go out and garden for a little bit, weed, whatever that happens to be. We're really lucky we live close to some trails right outside our door, so I can go for a walk our dog, whatever it happens to be. Getting outside tends to change my perspective on things, and it frees me up and gets rid of whatever is going on and helps me to get back in my creative juices flowing again. Another thing I've done if it's a rainy day and I don't want to go outside is I might read, and I usually have about 3 or 4 books going. I like flipping through home decor books. I like reading novels. I like an audiobook. I like autobiographies. I like historical novels. I like books about art. I like art history. I mean, it's endless. So whatever the mood is, maybe it's just flipping through a book on art that is somebody that I admire, and it just kind of helps me get my creative juices flowing again. Okay, now you guys don't laugh, but I'm a child. I was in high school in the 70s, and sometimes I just need some good loud rock and roll music, and it just gets me out of my head, and it gets my body just, I don't know, I just go back to my teenage years. I know that was a long time ago, but again, what works for you might not work for me, but what works for me might not work for you either. So I'm just trying to get your mind thinking like, okay, yeah, I just got to get out of myself. So, and then another thing, when things aren't working, these are just kind of off the top of my head when I'm thinking about it just before I made this video, but sometimes I just need to go take, I take online classes, art classes, and sometimes I just need to go revisit one of those classes, or maybe I need to sign up for a new one. Somebody to get my creative juices flowing. Maybe I need to go watch a YouTube video. Maybe I just need inspiration from outside myself as a means of moving forward. I need a new idea. I need something to spur me on. So those are things when I'm in a funk or I'm just like not feeling it, and the routines don't always work. I mean, they work until they don't. And then we all are going to go through patches where we might need something else to just kind of give us some momentum and to spur us on. So, wow. I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to thank you again for watching these videos during this past 30 days. I hope you were inspired. I hope that there were a few videos that gave you some ideas and a reason to kind of keep making art and being being creative, unique to yourself. And that is the whole point of this. Don't do what I'm doing. I mean, obviously you can use that and then move forward with it, but it's really about what works for you. Just like these routines, what works for you, what helps you get into the mood of being creative, and do more of that. So thanks again. I know I keep saying this, but thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.